Morning. So in this episode, we're going to do another cityscape. This one is near Syracuse. Beautiful place, and obviously, when I pick a subject, this is from Google Earth. It's an easy way to go look for images. I look for images which have sunlight. Obviously, there's sharp shadows, so it makes it a lot more easier for me and then for somebody who's painting a lot more easier. So the horizon, it's very easy in this case. Forgive me, the mouse, it's not a bamboo or a tablet, so I'm struggling drawing straight lines. So, but you get the picture. So the side face is very important. It gives you how dark the sunlight is, and obviously this side. So, and I'm going to draw that one, and the people, maybe I'm going to take out this garbage bin and a couple of ropes, but everything else, maybe I'll put in a person, who knows, I might do that, but it's a very interesting, hopefully a simple painting, and there's a lot of reference lines for us for perspective, so it gives you an idea of how the perspective is going to be. I'm going to add a little more details, so I'm going to take a little time to add those details because it needs to be true to what the image is, but I'm going to reduce all the details from these two structures on both the sides. And it's a nice summer day, so no clouds. There's one cloud, but I'm going to just do a clean cerulean blue and go from there. In terms of materials, I've got a Saunders 300 grams paper, obviously taped. For the inclination, I'll put in a couple of can of beans. It's just convenient and it's easy setup. This is just a piece of plastic. Does what I need to do, and it's always helpful to draw a simple sketch to know what the values are or the tones are. So in this case, I'm going to just do a quick sketch with no detail. So obviously there's a horizon, so that's the building, and a little more on this side. That goes them. And something like that. And there's a van and people. I'm gonna add a couple more people. Maybe. And there's perspective, so you know how things are moving. And there's a pot as well, so why not? I'm gonna add that. Simple details. So it's a new brush. About this Dalerani new brush. There's still some goop on the tip of the brush. Doesn't want to. I think they add a little bit of wax or something like that. So. Or something to do with the paper. The kids were playing with the paper. I'm not really sure why it's not spreading. So I'm gonna ditch the paint. I'm gonna stick with the pencil. So that's the first level of shade. So that's a little darker. Same level of shade on this side, and shade, shade. So you're looking at shade in these areas, and a little more darker that way. So that would be the drawing, or the value, how I'm going to plan this one. Okay, so I will start. I'm just using a 0.6B pencil. So I'm going to just block the main item. That's our main, and I'm going to add details. When you look at it, it's slightly stylized as well. So but so details. So details. There's design going all the way to here, and there's a balcony stops about there. What's that? There. Okay, and that goes into the horizon. There is but that height, there's the wall. Making sure you understand perspective is important. So even though I'm drawing lines, the image will look very weird if it doesn't meet a vanishing point. So over here, when you look at it, the building is almost still there. It gets to almost that height. That way, and I'll end that place. So we're looking at about that place. Shadow. First shadow, and then that's the second. Second is almost that height. And about that height is the van. And the people are about that height. So if I try to add people at the same height, so, and a few more people around that height. Let's add a group. As I said, add a dog, and the shadows always on this direction. Okay, so there's a big pot, gives you an indication where the shadows are, and the building. That's enough people. Maybe I'll add another one in the front. Okay. So the cargo. There's a van. That's my overall composition. I'm going to just add a few more windows to know where I need to add, and there's a couple of branches. There's a lot more detail going on. I can't add all those details. I'm going to come back and then see what I can do. So there's the main window, a triangular, I don't know what architecture term is, and a triangular. Okay, so there is some design element on the side, and there's a circular, there's some stuff going on. Not to forget, paint the sky over there. Okay, that's enough details for what I'm doing. Okay, all right, let's crack on with it. So for, as I said, I start with cerulean blue for the sky. It's very summary. For me, Mediterranean is cerulean blue. Doesn't have to be very precise, but I'm going to try to come in, block that color out, not to forget the paint inside that. Oh, gives a distance. All right. Okay. Bear with me for a second. I'm going to just dry it. That's number one wash done. I'm gonna come ahead and then I'm gonna start blocking in other colors. So mainly it's yellow ochre. I'm gonna come in, I'll be just careful over here not to touch the blue window, but other than that, yellow ochre, yellow, so a little bit of green, and I continue with yellow, yellow ochre. I could have left that van out of that, so I'm going to just take the color of the van. I'm going to use a little bit of burnt sienna. Come all the way. Making sure I don't touch the, and at this stage is a little bit of blue, grays. Gives you, it's a mix of different colors. And that I'll also come in, add a little more texture to the place. Just gives that extra texture. Okay, that's about it. So bear with me for another second. So I'm gonna dry that off. Okay, all right. So also I was paying attention not to blow it too hard so that I don't want the pigments to move all around the place. But this is where I am. So I'm gonna start, if you look at the image, so I'm gonna go the second coat, oh sorry, the sketch where the tones are. I'm gonna go bold and then I'm gonna cover some areas right now. So I'm using a smaller mop brush. And it's still yellow ochre, slightly darker tones, a little bit of crimson. So something funny with this paper, it's not sticking. Okay, I'm gonna come in, just do a touch here, that's fine. I'm gonna go, as I said, be bold. Also when it dries, it's going to dry, but I would say 20-30%. So be little bold and then add those details and then keep and then there's another detail here. Just mix in a little more color, a little bit of gray. As long as the tone is correct, I'm alright to keep going. So I keep going. Come over here, there's another line. There's a little bit of details. Okay, and I'm going to make it a slightly darker on the side. And that's the tone I'm going to use. Okay, all right, I'm going to just come with a slightly smaller brush just to paint around the people. A little more darker, as As you see, there's a lot more. We can adjust the third coat, but I've just come again, trying to be a little more easy. And then if it's getting dry, in this case, I'm going to just squirt a little bit of life to it by a little more water so that it's nice and wet. We want that water alive, so to speak. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're looking at about that place and then continue with that. Okay. I will get back with slightly darker yellow ochre, a little bit of red, blue, just a little mix. Go bold. So I might increase the tone, but right now I'm happy with this. Okay, so I don't want it to get too dry over here. I'm gonna just get a little bit and make this. So this one, obviously there's some details. A little darker, and it's got more red here. I'm going to come in and finish off. So while it's wet, I'm going to let it settle down and connect to it. Okay. It's the same thing over here. I need a little bit of yellow ochre. I'm going to come in. That's a design. Okay. Okay. I will come and finish this one. I'm happy with this one, so I'm going to just carry on adding a bit more details all around the place. Okay, so a little bit of pigment. So I'm just using a little bit of dry brush, trying to add a few more details. Maybe a slightly smaller brush. So I'm just adding some reference, not a lot of details. Okay, so a little bit details. There's a lot of dirt on one side and details. Looks like a lot of grime. details. Okay, so I'm just looking at the image and I'm continuing adding a little more details. Just enough details so that it's not, there's a feature and not to forget, I'm doing with a little bit of yellow ochre and a little bit of gray. So it has a little bit of blue door. So I'm going to come in. Blue door. I'm going to come in, do the stairs and wall, but I'm just adding details inside those things. So as you see, just step by step, details. Oh, almost getting to the structure. Okay, that's pretty good design. Sun a little darker. So a lot of details, which we're not going to do, just enough so that okay. Details. There's it's just a matter of adding plenty of details to make it look. Also knowing what to add and what not to add is a part of learning. So there's some steps. I'm going to use a slightly bigger brush. I'm going to come in, add that door. And there's a tint of green on the other side of the door. Maybe it's the patina. Okay. Continue with a little more details. You don't see it, but those are important. And I missed, there was a small car over here. We might come in and then add that car as well. So, and let's tackle the stairs. Sorry, the awning. Something like that. And to finish off a little bit of trees or the shrubs, couple of them poking around. And shadows. Okay, and then let's come and do that pot here as well. Okay, so almost getting there. A little bit of branch. Okay, so there's a part, and not to mention the shadow. Okay, so we're almost there. Let's focus on this side of the building. So add a little more details. Dry brush, a lot of pigment. And this one is a lot more. So I'm going to continue. With that trend. And the dome. Lots of awnings, but I will come in and then do those awnings. And some lines. I'm going to come in, make it a little darker. There's a few random bits and pieces. Okay, I've been talking about the carriages. So I'm going to just use a reservoir brush. This is really good for doing random things, especially it has enough liquid, and then you can come in. So I'm going to pick gray directly, a little more water, but thick, consistent as possible. So over here, right here, so we're looking at bar from there. So till here, and then all the way till here. So I'm going to come in. Add in those details, and the same for the awnings here. So it's got a slight bump, few places. I'm going to try to do that. That's about it. And I'm going to add a little more detail to the cross. Random places. More pigment, carry on adding sharper lines. Okay. Okay, same thing over here. I'm going to come in, add few sharp lines. Okay, that's what I'm going to do with the buildings. Oh, there's another balcony here, sorry. Okay, now let's come in and then finish off a little bit of the sketch in the front and the background. Sorry, the foreground. So a little bit of hair for this gentleman, a little bit of face, and let's and I will come back and then add a little more of his and for the puppy, okay, so I'm going to come in, make it a little more darker. Okay, I'm happy with that. Just make sure you don't forget to add the shadow in the same direction. That's what anchors. And I'm going to do the same for the other little bit of hair. Okay. Okay, so they seem a little dark, but I will come in and make them a little lighter. Okay, and then continuing with the people in the foreground. Okay. Okay, so I'm okay with that. So the last thing is the van. I'm going to just do a little tiny bit of a gray. And not to mention the lights. And his headlights. Don't forget to add a little bit of shadow. And I would, that's a bit too dark. Okay, the last thing I'm going to just do is I'm going to add a little bit of perspective lines just to draw the eyes to the main subject, which is that particular building. That area looks a bit empty. I'm going to just add in steps, details, which I might have missed. That is okay for me. The last thing is I'm going to add a few highlights. I'm going to just pick, even though the shadow to shadow is a bit contradicting, but I generally add a little more shadow. That's the second layer of shadow. That's the red. So pick a little bit of white. So I'm coming in, adding a little shadow. A little shadow and maybe a little bit of railing here and there, which is catching off a little bit of light. Okay. A little bit of light. Okay. That would conclude this painting. A little bit of critique on this painting. I do like the background, the main church or the cathedral. The only critical thing I want to talk about is the guy in the foreground with the dog. That one I forgot the head level, so it looks like a giant purely because the head level needs to be somewhere in the same line. That one is at least 2 heads above. It's not about the size of the person, it's just that the headline is above. He looks like he's much bigger. If he was just a little lower, it would have been alright. And then also from the paintings, what I've done is I've also added a little more darker just behind the van, and then also near the pot. Those couple of things I've added. I think those are the 2 critical things I would think about. The man, when you look at it, that's the only thing I'm looking at it. But hey, you will learn from your mistakes, and then the next time when I'm doing it, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to lower that one. Yep, that's it from the side. Help me out, like the video, and then click subscribe and notification so that you don't miss a thing. Till next watercolor instruction, keep painting, and thank you and bye.